Have you ever found yourself angry at someone, even though you know it won't help? Why is it that, despite knowing better, we still let our emotions control us? What if I told you that there's a way to never get angry again? A way to take control, stay calm, and transform your life? Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, already late for an important meeting. The person in the car ahead cuts you off, and immediately, you feel that familiar surge of frustration. Your heart races, your hands tighten on the steering wheel, and for a moment, it feels like you could explode. But what if, instead of letting anger take over, you could pause, breathe, and respond calmly? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, your space for peaceful growth and deep insights. If you're tired of letting anger dictate your actions and are ready for real change, you're in the right place. But before we dive in, I noticed something interesting. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed. So, if you find this helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It makes a huge difference. In this video, we'll explore how anger arises and how Buddhism offers practical wisdom for managing it. We all experience anger, but it's our response that truly shapes our peace. The Buddha taught that emotions like anger are a natural part of life, but they don't have to control us. By understanding our minds and practicing mindfulness, we can create space between feeling angry and acting on it. One of the first things we need to understand is that anger often stems from unmet expectations. When things don't go our way, we react. But what if we could shift our perspective? Buddhism teaches us that suffering, including anger, comes from our attachment to how things should be. The more we expect, the more we invite disappointment and frustration. Another key lesson from Buddhism is that anger is not something we need to suppress or ignore. Instead, we can observe it, understand it, and let it go. This doesn't happen overnight, but through consistent practice, it is possible. Mindfulness meditation is a powerful tool for this. By simply sitting with our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we can start to detach from them and see them for what they are, temporary states of mind. In the following parts, we'll go deeper into these concepts and offer actionable steps to help you reduce and eventually overcome anger. Stay with us, and together, we'll uncover the path to inner peace. Understanding the nature of anger. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting quietly, and suddenly, someone says something that irritates you. Your heart starts to race, your mind begins to react, and before you know it, anger is taking control. But what is this feeling? Where does it come from? Why do we let it affect us so deeply? In this part, let's explore the nature of anger. To truly overcome anger, we first need to understand what it really is. Let me share a simple truth. Anger is just an emotion, like any other. It is not something that defines you. It's just a passing storm in the mind. But often, it feels much bigger, doesn't it? It feels powerful and consuming, and we can easily lose ourselves in it. Buddhism teaches us that emotions like anger are natural, but they don't have to control us. If we understand anger, we can see that it comes and goes, just like clouds in the sky. When we're in the middle of it, it feels so strong. But if we look closely, we can notice that it fades away after a while. This is one of the most important lessons we can learn. Anger doesn't last forever. Now, let's think about this for a moment. When we feel angry, we often believe that something outside of us caused that anger, right? Maybe someone said something hurtful or did something unfair. But if we really examine it, we'll see that the anger actually arises from inside us. The external situation may have triggered the feeling, but the anger is ours. It's like a match being lit. If the matchbox is empty, the match can't ignite. The external situation is just the spark, but the anger comes from something within us. In Buddhism, we learn that anger usually comes from attachment and expectations. We expect things to be a certain way, and when they aren't, we get upset. For example, if someone cuts in line ahead of us, we might feel angry because we expected them to follow the rules. Or if a friend forgets our birthday, we might feel hurt and angry because we expected them to remember. In both cases, the anger comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. But here's the key. Life doesn't always go the way we want it to. People don't always behave how we expect them to, and situations don't always unfold as planned. This is the nature of life. full of change and unpredictability. When we understand this deeply, we can begin to let go of our rigid expectations, and in doing so, we reduce the chances of feeling anger. The Buddha often taught that life is full of impermanence, and by accepting this truth, we can learn to flow with life, rather than fight against it. One of the most important things to understand about anger is that it's a reaction. And like all reactions, it comes from the mind. The mind sees something it doesn't like, and it reacts. But here's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness allows us to notice our reactions before they fully take over. Let's say someone insults you. Normally, without mindfulness, you might immediately get defensive, feel hurt, and react angrily. But with mindfulness, there's a pause. You notice the anger rising, and in that pause, you have a choice. You can either react, or you can choose to let the anger go. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending you're not angry. That's not helpful. Instead, it means acknowledging the anger, feeling it fully, but not letting it drive your actions. This is a skill we can develop with practice. Every time you feel anger bubbling up, take a moment to notice it. Observe how it feels in your body. Is your chest tight? Are your fists clenched? What thoughts are racing through your mind? By observing it without judgment, you can begin to create some distance from the anger. It becomes less personal, less powerful. It's just an emotion, passing through. Another important aspect of understanding anger is recognizing the harm it causes, not only to others but to ourselves. When we act out of anger, we often say or do things that we later regret. We hurt the people around us, and we damage our relationships. But perhaps even more importantly, we hurt ourselves. Anger affects our peace of mind, our health, and our overall well-being. When we hold on to anger, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It eats away at us from the inside. This is why it's so important to let go of anger. It's not about letting others get away with things, and it's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about freeing yourself from the pain that anger causes. In Buddhism, one of the ways we let go of anger is through compassion. Compassion is the opposite of anger. When we feel angry, we are usually focused on ourselves, our own hurt, our own expectations. But when we practice compassion, we shift the focus to others. We try to understand their perspective, their struggles, and their suffering. For example, let's say someone was rude to you. Your initial reaction might be anger, but if you take a moment to practice compassion, you might consider that the person who was rude is having a difficult day, or maybe they're dealing with their own pain. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you see that their actions come from their own suffering. When we see others suffering, it becomes easier to let go of our anger and respond with kindness instead. This doesn't mean we should allow others to treat us badly or accept unjust situations. Compassion can be strong and firm. It's about responding from a place of understanding, rather than reacting out of anger. When we act from compassion, we're more likely to resolve conflicts peacefully, rather than escalating them. Understanding anger is the first step to overcoming it. By seeing it for what it is, a passing emotion that arises from our own expectations and attachments, we can begin to loosen its grip on us. Through mindfulness and compassion, we can create space between feeling angry and reacting. We can choose to let go of anger and respond with peace. In the next parts, we'll dive deeper into how to practically apply these teachings in daily life. But for now, remember, anger is not who you are. It's just a feeling, and with practice, you can learn to let it go. The role of mindfulness in anger management. Imagine yourself sitting quietly. No noise, no distractions. Your mind is still, like a calm pond with no ripples. But suddenly, someone says something hurtful, or something unexpected happens, and like a stone thrown into that peaceful pond, the waters of your mind begin to ripple. That stone is anger. Now, here is where mindfulness comes in. Think of mindfulness as the ability to see the stone and the ripples for what they are, without getting carried away by them. Mindfulness is like standing at the edge of the pond, simply watching the water without jumping in. This is the first step to mastering your anger. In our daily lives, anger is like that stone thrown into the pond. It happens so quickly that we don't even realize it until the water is already disturbed. One moment we are calm, and the next, we are swept away by emotions. But with mindfulness, we learn to catch that moment before the stone hits the water. We learn to notice the feeling of anger before it grows. Mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment without judging it. It sounds simple, but it's a powerful tool. When we practice mindfulness, we start to notice the small signals that anger is on its way. Maybe it's the tightening of your chest, the clenching of your jaw, or a flash of heat in your body. These are all signs that anger is about to rise. With mindfulness, you become aware of these signals before the anger takes over, and that gives you a choice to respond differently. But how do we practice mindfulness in a way that truly helps us manage anger? It all starts with breathing. When you are mindful of your breath, you are anchored in the present moment. You're not thinking about the past or worrying about the future. You're just here, breathing. This simple act of focusing on your breath can create enough space between you and your anger to prevent it from controlling you. Let's take a closer look at how this works. When something triggers your anger, your body reacts almost immediately. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tense up, and your thoughts start racing. This is the point where most people either lash out or try to suppress their anger. But mindfulness offers a third option: just observe. Instead of getting caught up in the whirlwind of anger, mindfulness teaches you to step back and watch it unfold. You don't have to fight it, and you don't have to act on it. You just watch. It's like watching clouds pass by in the sky. The clouds come, they go, but you remain steady. Anger is like that. It comes, it stays for a while, but then it passes. With mindfulness, you learn not to attach yourself to it. Now, let's think about how anger usually works. When someone says something hurtful or does something unfair, our first reaction is to blame them, right? He made me angry, or she's the reason I'm upset. But if we look deeply with mindfulness, we begin to see that anger actually comes from within. The person or situation may have triggered it, but the anger is ours. It comes from our own expectations, our own judgments, our own attachment to how we think things should be. Buddhism teaches that when we are mindful, we see things as they really are. We see that no one can make us angry. We create our own anger through our reactions. This doesn't mean we just accept unfairness or injustice. It means we learn to respond from a place of calm and wisdom instead of reacting from a place of emotion. In mindfulness, we observe our thoughts and feelings without judging them. So, when anger arises, we don't label it as bad or try to push it away. We just acknowledge it. Here is anger. By doing this, we take away its power over us. It's like holding a flame in the palm of your hand. As long as you don't add fuel to it, the flame won't grow. Mindfulness also helps us realize that anger is impermanent. It feels strong in the moment, but it doesn't last forever. Think about the last time you were really angry. Where is that anger now? It's gone, right? It passed, just like every emotion does. When we remember this, we don't get so caught up in our anger. We can watch it rise, and we can watch it fall. One of the key teachings in Buddhism is that everything is constantly changing. This includes our emotions. Mindfulness allows us to witness this change in real time. When we feel anger starting to rise, we can breathe, observe, and remind ourselves, this will pass. And because we're not caught up in it, it passes more quickly. Another important aspect of mindfulness and anger management is recognizing the role of our thoughts. Often, our anger isn't just about what's happening in the moment. It's fueled by the stories we tell ourselves. He always does this, or she never listens to me. These thoughts fan the flames of our anger. But mindfulness helps us see these thoughts for what they are, just thoughts. They aren't facts, and they don't have to define our experience. When we become mindful of our thoughts, we can choose whether to engage with them or let them go. Let me share a simple practice with you. The next time you feel anger rising, try this. Stop whatever you're doing and take a deep breath. Inhale slowly, then exhale slowly. Do this 3 times. As you breathe, silently say to yourself, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Now, observe your body. Where do you feel the anger? Is it in your chest? Your stomach? Just notice the sensations without trying to change them. Then, observe your thoughts. What story are you telling yourself about this situation? Is it helping or hurting you? Finally, remind yourself that this feeling is temporary. Say to yourself, this will pass. By practicing this regularly, you'll begin to notice a shift. Anger won't grip you as tightly, and over time, it will arise less frequently. Another thing mindfulness helps us do is see the suffering behind anger. When someone is angry at us, it's easy to react with anger in return. But if we are mindful, we can look beyond their words or actions and see their pain. Maybe they're angry because they're hurt, stressed, or afraid. When we understand this, it becomes easier to respond with compassion instead of more anger. Mindfulness creates a space for compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. When we are mindful, we treat ourselves with kindness, even when we feel difficult emotions like anger. We don't blame ourselves or feel guilty. Instead, we understand that anger is a part of being human, and we approach it with curiosity and care. In the end, mindfulness is not about getting rid of anger entirely. It's about transforming our relationship with it. Anger will still come, but it won't control us anymore. We will see it, understand it, and let it go. And in that space, we find peace. So, the next time you feel anger rising, remember, breathe, observe, and let it pass. You have the power to change how you respond, and with mindfulness, you can find calm even in the midst of chaos. Cultivating compassion as an antidote to anger. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who was deeply troubled. Every day, he found himself angry at people, at circumstances, at life itself. He wanted things to be different, but they never seemed to go his way. This anger weighed heavily on him, affecting his relationships and his peace of mind. One day, he went to a wise teacher, hoping for a solution. The teacher said something that surprised him. Your anger is not caused by others, but by the lack of compassion in your heart. The man was confused. Compassion? How could that be the answer to his anger? But the more he thought about it, the more he realized how true it was. He had been quick to judge, quick to react, and slow to understand the struggles and emotions of others. It was then that he decided to embark on a journey of cultivating compassion, and with it, his anger began to fade. You see, anger and compassion cannot exist together. When you truly understand the suffering of others, it becomes difficult to be angry at them. Compassion softens the heart, making space for patience, understanding, and forgiveness. Buddhism teaches us that everyone is struggling in their own way. The person who cuts you off in traffic may be rushing to the hospital to see a loved one. The colleague who snapped at you might be going through personal difficulties. And the person who frustrates you might be acting out of their own pain, not to hurt you, but because they don't know how else to deal with their emotions. When we start to see others through this lens of compassion, our anger naturally begins to dissolve. Now, compassion is not just about feeling sorry for someone or being kind in a superficial way. True compassion goes deeper. It is the recognition that all beings, including yourself, are connected through the shared experience of suffering and joy. When we cultivate compassion, we open our hearts not just to others, but to ourselves as well. And this is where the healing begins. Think about the last time you were angry. Wasn't it true that, in that moment, you were caught up in your own emotions? You felt hurt, offended, or perhaps misunderstood. But what if, in that very moment, you could step outside of your own feelings and look at the situation from a broader perspective? What if you could understand the other person's suffering, just as you understand your own? This is the essence of compassion. It is not something that makes you weak or passive. In fact, it makes you stronger. When you are compassionate, you are no longer a prisoner of your emotions. Instead of reacting in anger, you can respond with wisdom. You can choose to let go, to forgive, and to understand. But cultivating compassion takes practice. It is not something that happens overnight. One of the best ways to develop compassion is through a practice called loving-kindness meditation, or metta in Buddhism. In this meditation, you begin by sending love and kindness to yourself. You acknowledge your own suffering and wish yourself peace, joy, and happiness. From there, you expand your compassion outward, first to those you love, then to those you know, and finally, to all beings everywhere, even those who have wronged you. When you practice metta, you start to break down the walls of anger and resentment. You realize that everyone is doing the best they can with the knowledge and circumstances they have. This realization helps to soften the intensity of your anger. Let's take an example. Imagine someone in your life who has hurt you, intentionally or unintentionally. Maybe it's a friend who betrayed your trust, a colleague who undermined you, or a family member who disappointed you. Normally, your reaction might be to hold on to that hurt, letting it fuel your anger. But what if, instead, you took a moment to consider their suffering? What if you acknowledged that, just like you, they have their own struggles, fears, and insecurities? Compassion doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but it does mean understanding that their actions came from a place of pain. When you can see that, it becomes easier to let go of your anger. You begin to understand that their behavior was a reflection of their own suffering, not a personal attack on you. It's important to remember that compassion is not just for others. You must also extend it to yourself. Often, we are our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards and getting angry when we fall short. But just as we show kindness to others, we must show kindness to ourselves. This self-compassion allows us to forgive our mistakes, learn from them, and move forward without the burden of self-judgment. When you practice self-compassion, you begin to realize that you are deserving of the same love and understanding you offer to others. You are not perfect, and that's okay. None of us are. Compassion teaches us to accept ourselves, flaws and all, and this acceptance is key to reducing our own anger. Buddhism teaches that compassion is like a seed. The more you nurture it, the more it grows. And as it grows, it spreads peace, not just in your heart, but in the hearts of those around you. When you respond to anger with compassion, you create a ripple effect. Your calmness influences others, and soon, what might have been an angry confrontation becomes a peaceful resolution. But how do we stay compassionate in the heat of the moment, when anger is at its strongest? This is where mindfulness comes in. When you are mindful, you are aware of your emotions as they arise, without being controlled by them. You notice the first spark of anger, but instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. And in that pause, you choose compassion. Every time you practice this, you get a little bit better at it. It becomes easier to see the suffering behind someone's actions, easier to forgive, and easier to respond with love instead of anger. With time, compassion becomes your natural response, and anger loses its power over you. In conclusion, cultivating compassion is one of the most powerful ways to overcome anger. It allows us to see beyond the surface of someone's actions and connect with the humanity beneath. Through compassion, we break the cycle of anger and replace it with understanding, patience, and kindness. And in doing so, we not only free ourselves from anger, but also contribute to a more peaceful world. So remember, the next time you feel anger rising, pause, take a deep breath, and choose compassion. You'll be surprised at the transformation that follows. Practicing detachment from ego and expectations. So you want to understand how to free yourself from anger, yes? It is not as difficult as you may think, yet not as simple either. The key, my friend, lies in something that may surprise you: your ego. Yes, that small voice inside your head that demands things be a certain way. The one that constantly whispers, "I deserve this," or "this shouldn't happen to me." It's the ego that often feeds your anger. When we speak of anger, we are speaking of the fire that rises within when things don't go the way we expect. Think about the last time you were angry. Perhaps it was because someone disrespected you, or maybe things just didn't unfold according to your plan. What was it that truly sparked that anger? Most likely, it was your attachment to a certain outcome, an expectation that things should happen in a particular way. The ego creates these expectations. It tells you that the world should bend to your will, that things should happen the way you want. But here's the truth. The world does not bend to anyone's will. The sooner you understand this, the closer you are to freedom from anger. Buddhism teaches that anger, like all emotions, is rooted in attachment. We become attached to our desires, our identities, and most of all, our expectations. We expect people to behave in certain ways. We expect situations to unfold in a particular manner. And when these expectations aren't met, anger arises. The ego flares up, saying, "This is not right. I deserve better." But what if we could let go of these expectations? Detachment is the practice of releasing the grip of the ego, of letting go of those expectations. It does not mean becoming indifferent or cold. No, it means accepting life as it is, not as we want it to be. When you practice detachment, you begin to understand that things will happen as they do, not necessarily as you wish. Imagine you are holding onto a rope and someone on the other end is pulling it. The more you pull back, the more tension builds. But the moment you let go of the rope, the tension disappears. Anger is much like that. As long as you hold tightly to your expectations and the belief that things should go your way, you will experience tension and frustration. But when you release that grip, the anger fades. In the same way, when someone speaks harshly to you, the ego immediately reacts. It tells you, I must defend myself. I must prove I am right. But if you step back and ask yourself, why does this bother me? Is my peace worth more than this argument? You begin to see that many things are not worth the energy of anger. You start to let go. Now, let's talk about expectations more closely. Think about the expectations you hold in your daily life. You expect respect, you expect kindness, you expect that things will go smoothly. But life is full of surprises. People will not always treat you the way you wish. Situations will not always unfold perfectly. When you set expectations, you are setting yourself up for disappointment, which often turns into anger. What if, instead of expecting, you could simply accept? This does not mean you lower your standards or stop caring. It means you release the need to control every outcome. Life is a river, constantly flowing, constantly changing. When you try to control it, you are fighting the current, and that fight brings frustration. But when you flow with the river, accepting its course, you find peace. Let me share a simple story. There was once a monk who had a beautiful garden. He tended to it every day, watering the plants, trimming the branches, and keeping it in perfect condition. One day, a wild animal came into the garden and trampled over his favorite flowers. The monk was furious. He had worked so hard to keep the garden perfect, and now it was ruined. But then, he sat quietly and reflected. Why am I angry? He asked himself. Is it because the garden is ruined, or because I expected it to always be perfect? He realized it was not the garden that caused his anger, but his attachment to its perfection. From that day, the monk continued to care for his garden, but he no longer expected it to remain untouched. He found peace in tending to it, no matter what happened. This is the essence of detachment. You can care deeply about something, but you do not need to cling to a specific outcome. When you release the need for things to go your way, you create space for peace. Buddhism teaches us that all suffering, including anger, comes from attachment. The ego tells you that you are separate from others, that your desires are more important than anything else. But in truth, we are all connected, and clinging to your ego only creates more suffering. When you start to see that your expectations are simply illusions created by the ego, you can begin to let go. Now, how do we practice detachment? It starts with awareness. The next time you feel anger rising within you, pause. Ask yourself, what expectation am I holding on to in this moment? What is my ego telling me that makes me feel this way? You will often find that it is not the situation itself that causes your anger, but your attachment to how you think it should be. Once you recognize this, breathe deeply and let go. Accept the situation as it is, without the need to change it. You may not always succeed at first, but with practice, you will find that your grip on expectations loosens, and with it, your anger fades. Another powerful practice is mindfulness. When you meditate, you observe your thoughts without judgment. You begin to see them as passing clouds in the sky, temporary, ever-changing. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to detach from your thoughts and emotions in daily life. You realize that anger, like any other emotion, is just a passing cloud. It does not define you, and it does not have to control you. Finally, compassion is key. When you practice detachment, you are not only freeing yourself from anger, but you are also creating space for understanding and kindness. Instead of reacting to others with frustration, you can respond with empathy. You begin to see that others, too, are struggling with their own egos, their own expectations. And when you understand this, it becomes easier to forgive, to let go, and to respond with compassion rather than anger. In the end, detachment is not about abandoning your desires or becoming passive. It is about recognizing the nature of life, impermanent, ever-changing, and finding peace in that understanding. When you release the ego's grip on your mind, you open yourself to a life of freedom, calm, and true joy. And with that freedom, anger has no place to grow. So, my friend, remember this. The key to overcoming anger lies not in controlling the world around you, but in releasing the expectations you hold within. The less you cling, the more you find peace. And peace, as always, is the true path to freedom. The power of patience in emotional regulation. Patience. So simple in concept, yet so difficult in practice. Many of you may have heard the saying, patience is a virtue. But why is it so important? And why does it feel so challenging when we're faced with frustration, anger, or disappointment? Today, we are going to dive deeply into the power of patience and how it can help us regulate our emotions, especially anger. When you understand and cultivate patience, your mind becomes calm, and life becomes much easier. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt impatient? Was it while waiting in a long line? Or perhaps during a heated conversation with someone you care about? You may have noticed that impatience has a way of making us feel tense, restless, and even angry. But what if you could see those moments as opportunities to grow? What if you could transform impatience into calmness, tension into peace? This is what patience offers. In Buddhism, patience is not just waiting without complaint. It's a practice of mindfulness and acceptance, a way of staying calm and centered even when things don't go our way. It's about seeing life as it is, not as we wish it to be, and being at peace with that. The Buddha taught that impatience arises when we resist the present moment. We get caught up in wanting things to be different, and when they aren't, we become frustrated. This is the root of our suffering. But the good news is that patience can be cultivated. It's like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. And the stronger it becomes, the easier it is to remain calm in the face of challenges. When you are patient, you create space between your emotions and your actions. You don't react impulsively. You can observe your feelings without getting swept away by them. This is where true emotional regulation begins. One of the first steps in developing patience is learning to accept the things you cannot control. We often get angry or frustrated because we believe that things should go a certain way. We have expectations about how people should behave, how events should unfold, or how quickly things should happen. But life doesn't always follow our expectations. And when we resist this truth, we suffer. The next time you feel impatient, try this. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What expectation are you holding on to? Maybe it's the expectation that someone should understand your point of view immediately, or that traffic should move faster, or that a task should be easier. Once you recognize the expectation, gently remind yourself that life unfolds at its own pace, not according to your demands. This is not resignation, it's acceptance. And acceptance is the foundation of patience. Another important aspect of patience is letting go of the need for immediate results. In our modern world, we're used to getting things quickly. We expect fast internet, quick answers, and instant gratification. But life's most important changes don't happen instantly. Growth, healing, and transformation take time. The Buddha compared this process to planting a seed. You don't plant a seed today and expect a tree tomorrow. You have to wait. You have to nurture the seed, give it water, sunlight, and time. Only then will it grow into a strong tree. Patience works the same way. When you practice patience, you begin to see that everything unfolds in its own time. The universe has its rhythm, and we are part of that rhythm. Rushing, forcing, or resisting doesn't change the natural flow of life. In fact, it only brings more tension and stress. But when you allow things to happen in their own time, when you practice patience, you create harmony in your life. You move with the flow of life, rather than against it. Let me share a simple example from daily life. Imagine you are baking bread. You've mixed the ingredients, kneaded the dough, and placed it in the oven. Now, you have to wait. No matter how much you want the bread to be ready, you can't rush the process. If you open the oven too soon, the bread will be undercooked. If you're impatient, the result won't be what you hoped for. But if you wait, if you allow the bread to bake at its own pace, the result will be a perfectly baked loaf. This is patience in action. Patience is not passive. It's an active, mindful practice. It requires awareness and intention. You must be aware of your emotions, your expectations, and your reactions. And you must intentionally choose to remain calm and centered, even when you feel like exploding with frustration. This doesn't mean you ignore your feelings or pretend they don't exist. It means you observe them without letting them control you. In Buddhist practice, patience is often associated with compassion. When you are patient with others, you are offering them kindness and understanding. You are acknowledging that they, too, are going through their own struggles, and that sometimes they need time to figure things out. This is especially important in relationships. We often get frustrated with the people we care about because we expect them to change or understand us immediately. But relationships, like everything else, take time. Patience allows us to give others the space they need to grow without rushing them or trying to control the outcome. Similarly, when you are patient with yourself, you are practicing self-compassion. We all make mistakes. We all have moments of weakness, anger, or impatience. But instead of beating yourself up for it, practice patience. Understand that growth takes time, and that it's okay to stumble along the way. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. Be kind to yourself as you learn and grow. A powerful tool in developing patience is mindfulness meditation. When you meditate, you are training your mind to be present, to observe without reacting. You learn to sit with your thoughts and emotions without judgment, without needing to change them. This practice helps you develop patience, not just in meditation, but in everyday life. When you are mindful, you are less likely to react impulsively. You are more likely to take a step back, breathe, and respond with calmness and clarity. Over time, as you cultivate patience, you will notice a profound shift in how you experience life. Situations that used to frustrate you will no longer have the same power over you. You will find yourself responding with calmness, even in the face of difficulty. You will begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than obstacles to your happiness. Remember, patience is not something you achieve overnight. It is a lifelong practice, one that requires commitment and mindfulness. But with time, you will see the rewards. You will experience more peace, less anger, and a greater sense of harmony in your life. This is the power of patience. As we continue on this journey, remember to be patient with yourself. You are learning, growing, and transforming. And just like the seed that grows into a tree, you, too, will flourish with time. Patience, my friend, is the key to mastering your emotions and finding lasting peace. Embracing impermanence to overcome anger. Impermanence. It's one of the most profound teachings of the Buddha. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. But often, we resist this truth, don't we? We want things to remain as they are, or we cling to the hope that they will turn out the way we want them to be. When reality doesn't match our expectations, anger arises. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been angry because something didn't go your way? Maybe a friend let you down, or you lost something important to you. We all experience this. But the key is to see that our anger, in many cases, stems from our resistance to change, from our inability to accept impermanence. In this part, we are going to explore how embracing impermanence can help us overcome anger. The root of anger. Let's start by looking at the root of anger. Why do we get angry? Often, it's because something we wanted, expected, or depended on didn't happen, or it got taken away from us. We experience anger because we don't accept that everything in life is in constant motion, always shifting. Imagine this. You buy a new phone. It's shiny, it works perfectly, and you're excited about it. But after some time, maybe a few weeks or months, it starts to slow down. Or perhaps you drop it, and the screen cracks. Suddenly, what was once a source of joy becomes a source of frustration. Why? Because we wanted that phone to stay perfect, but it didn't. It changed. This is a small example, but it applies to bigger things in life, too. Our relationships, our jobs, our health, everything is in a state of flux. The problem is, we hold on to the idea that these things should stay the same, and when they don't, we feel upset or angry. Learning from nature. Look at nature. Everything is constantly changing. The seasons shift, the trees grow and shed their leaves, the waves crash against the shore and then retreat. Nature doesn't resist change, it flows with it. And if we can learn to do the same, we can reduce our anger. Think of a tree during autumn. It doesn't get angry when its leaves fall. It simply lets them go, because it understands that this is a natural part of its cycle. It knows that, in time, new leaves will grow. The tree doesn't cling to what was, nor does it try to rush what will come. It exists in harmony with the natural rhythm of life. As human beings, we can take a lesson from the tree. When something in our life changes, whether it's a relationship, a job, or even our emotions, we can learn to let it go without resistance. This doesn't mean we won't feel sadness or loss, but it does mean that we don't have to turn those feelings into anger. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence. The Buddha often spoke about the nature of impermanence, or anicca in Pali. He taught that everything in life is transient. Our possessions, our relationships, even our own bodies and minds. This truth can be difficult to accept, but it is also liberating. When we truly understand impermanence, we stop clinging to things that are bound to change. We stop expecting the world to cater to our desires. And when we let go of these expectations, we find that there is less room for anger in our hearts. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Think about a time when you were angry because something didn't turn out the way you wanted. Maybe you missed a promotion at work, or a friend didn't support you in the way you expected. Now, consider this. Was the situation permanent, or did it eventually change? Did your feelings about it change over time? The Buddha teaches us that, just as situations change, so too do our emotions. Anger, like everything else, is impermanent. It comes, and if we don't feed it, it will go. But if we hold on to it, if we resist the truth of impermanence, anger can take root and grow stronger. Practicing impermanence in daily life. So, how can we begin to embrace impermanence in our daily lives to reduce anger? Here are a few simple practices. Mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness, we can start to notice the changing nature of everything around us. Whether it's the weather, our thoughts, or the behavior of others, when we pay attention, we see that nothing stays the same for long. This awareness helps us let go of our need to control or cling to outcomes. Non-attachment. The Buddha taught that attachment is the cause of suffering. When we attach ourselves to certain outcomes or people, we set ourselves up for disappointment. By practicing non-attachment, we learn to appreciate things as they are, without needing them to last forever. Gratitude. When we acknowledge that everything is temporary, we begin to appreciate the present moment more fully. Instead of getting angry when something changes, we can feel gratitude for the time we had with it. This shift in perspective can be incredibly powerful. Letting go. Sometimes, we hold on to anger because we believe we were wronged or things didn't go our way. But by understanding impermanence, we realize that holding on to these feelings is futile. Just as a leaf falls from a tree, we can let go of our anger and allow ourselves to move on. Real-life examples. Consider a person who has lost their job. At first, they may feel angry at their boss, the company, or the circumstances that led to this situation. But over time, as they come to accept the reality of what has happened, they may begin to see new opportunities. Perhaps they find a better job, or maybe they realize that the loss has opened up time for personal growth. The anger fades as they embrace the impermanence of the situation. Now, think of a relationship that ended. In the beginning, there may have been anger and hurt. But as time passes and the person reflects on the relationship, they might come to understand that it was never meant to last forever. They begin to appreciate the good moments and let go of the pain. Once again, impermanence reveals itself as a source of healing. The power of acceptance. Acceptance is a powerful tool in overcoming anger. When we accept that life is always changing, we stop fighting against it. Instead of trying to control everything or getting upset when things don't go as planned, we can remain calm and centered. We can flow with life, just as the river flows with the current. Buddhism teaches us that by accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from the burden of anger. We stop demanding that the world be a certain way, and in doing so, we open ourselves up to peace and contentment. Conclusion. Embracing impermanence is not just about understanding that things change. It's about changing the way we respond to life. When we stop resisting change, we stop feeding our anger. Instead, we cultivate patience, acceptance, and a deep sense of peace. As you go about your day, remember this teaching. The next time you feel anger rising, take a moment to reflect on the truth of impermanence. Ask yourself, is this situation permanent? Will my feelings about it change? In most cases, the answer will be yes. With time and practice, you'll find that as you embrace impermanence, anger will have less and less control over you. Instead of reacting with frustration, you'll respond with wisdom and calm. And that is the true path to freedom from anger. Letting go of control and practicing acceptance. In our busy lives, we often find ourselves clinging to control. We want things to go a certain way, and when they don't, we feel upset or angry. But what if we could learn to let go? What if we could accept life as it comes, without trying to control every moment? This is a vital lesson in Buddhism, and it can bring us deep peace. Imagine holding a cup of hot tea. If you grip it too tightly, the heat will burn your hand. But if you hold it gently, you can enjoy the warmth without pain. Our desire for control is like that tight grip. When we hold on too tightly, we create suffering for ourselves. But by learning to let go, we can find comfort and peace. Let's first understand why we crave control. It comes from our fear of the unknown. We like to feel safe and secure. When we know what will happen, we feel at ease. But the truth is, life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan, things can change in an instant. Holding on to control only leads to frustration. Instead, we can choose to embrace uncertainty. Buddha taught that life is full of impermanence. Everything is changing, from our thoughts and feelings to our surroundings. The flowers bloom and wither, the seasons change, and our experiences come and go. Recognizing this helps us let go of our need for control. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we can relax and find joy in the present moment. Practicing acceptance is not about being passive. It doesn't mean we stop striving for what we want or become indifferent to our dreams. Instead, it means we acknowledge reality as it is. We accept our emotions, our thoughts, and the circumstances around us. By doing this, we create space for new possibilities to arise. Consider this. When you face a challenge, do you resist it or accept it? Resistance often brings anger and frustration. But acceptance opens the door to understanding and growth. It allows us to respond to situations calmly rather than react with anger or stress. This shift in mindset can be incredibly liberating. One way to practice acceptance is through mindfulness meditation. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Focus on your breath as it comes in and out. When thoughts arise, don't fight them. Acknowledge them and let them pass like clouds in the sky. This practice helps us observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. Over time, we learn to accept whatever arises, leading to greater peace. Another powerful tool is gratitude. When we focus on what we have instead of what we lack, we shift our perspective. Gratitude helps us appreciate the present moment, no matter how imperfect it may be. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you are grateful for. This simple practice can shift your focus from control to acceptance. In addition to gratitude, consider the concept of non-attachment. This doesn't mean we don't care about our goals or relationships. It means we don't let them define us. When we become too attached to outcomes, we create suffering. Instead, we can strive for our goals while remaining open to whatever happens. This balance allows us to pursue our dreams without the fear of failure. Letting go of control also means trusting ourselves and others. We often worry about how things will turn out. But if we trust in our abilities and the goodness of those around us, we can let go of that worry. Trust creates a sense of safety, allowing us to face challenges with a calm heart. Consider the story of a river. A river flows naturally, navigating around rocks and obstacles. It doesn't resist. It moves with grace, finding its path. We can learn from the river. Instead of fighting against life's currents, we can flow with them. This doesn't mean we don't take action. It means we take action with a sense of acceptance. In our relationships, letting go of control can create deeper connections. Often, we want to change others to fit our expectations. But when we accept people as they are, we create space for genuine love and understanding. We can support our loved ones without trying to control them. This acceptance fosters harmony and trust. Acceptance is also key to dealing with difficult emotions. When we feel anger or sadness, we may want to push those feelings away. But instead, we can acknowledge them. I feel angry right now, we can say to ourselves. By recognizing our emotions, we allow them to exist without letting them dictate our actions. This practice can reduce the intensity of our feelings and lead to clearer thinking. As we move through life, remember that it's okay to not have all the answers. Embrace the unknown with an open heart. Each day brings new experiences, and within that uncertainty lies growth. By letting go of control, we open ourselves to the beauty of life's journey. In closing, let go of the tight grip you have on control. Embrace acceptance as a way of life. Trust in the flow of existence and allow yourself to be present in each moment. With practice, you will find that life becomes more peaceful and joyful. Just like the river, you can navigate through challenges with grace and ease. Embrace the journey, for it is where true peace resides. The benefits of loving-kindness meditation, metta. In the stillness of the mind, a seed of kindness can blossom. Loving-kindness meditation, known as metta, is a powerful practice in Buddhism. It opens our hearts and softens our spirits. Imagine a gentle light shining within you, spreading warmth and compassion to everyone around. This light can transform not only how you feel, but also how you interact with the world. What is loving-kindness meditation? At its core, it is about wishing well for ourselves and others. This practice encourages us to cultivate feelings of love and kindness towards ourselves first. When we fill our hearts with kindness, we create a beautiful foundation to extend that kindness to others. Picture this. You take a moment to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and silently repeat phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe." This is how you begin to nurture love within. As you grow more comfortable with loving yourself, you can expand your focus. Gradually, you can start wishing well for those you care about. Think of a friend or a family member. As you breathe in and out, repeat, "May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe." Feel the warmth in your heart as you send these positive thoughts their way. With practice, this loving energy can reach even those with whom you have difficulties. Imagine extending that same wish to someone you might feel angry or frustrated with. It might feel strange at first, but this is where the magic happens. Loving-kindness meditation helps break the cycle of negativity. When we harbor anger or resentment, we often feel heavy and burdened. It affects not only our mind, but also our body. Tension builds in our muscles, and stress creeps into our lives. But when we practice loving-kindness, we release that heaviness. We let go of anger and invite peace into our hearts. It is like clearing a foggy window, allowing bright sunlight to shine through. Research shows that loving-kindness meditation has numerous benefits. People who practice it regularly report feeling more positive emotions, less anxiety, and even improved relationships. This practice helps us develop empathy. We begin to understand the struggles of others, seeing that we all share the same desires for happiness and safety. When we recognize our common humanity, anger and frustration start to fade away. Imagine living in a world where kindness reigns. Picture each person spreading love instead of anger. This is the world we can help create through loving-kindness meditation. When we fill our hearts with compassion, it spills over into our actions. A simple smile, a kind word, or a helping hand can make a significant difference in someone's day. Let's explore how to practice loving-kindness meditation. Find a quiet space where you feel comfortable. Sit or lie down, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Allow your body to relax. As you settle in, start by focusing on yourself. Think of a positive quality you possess, something that makes you unique. It could be your ability to listen or your sense of humor. Now, as you focus on that quality, repeat the phrases, "May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease." Feel these words resonate within you. Imagine wrapping yourself in a warm blanket of love and kindness. Let it envelop you, making you feel safe and cherished. After a few moments, bring to mind someone you care about deeply. Picture their face and hold them in your heart. Repeat the phrases for them. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. Allow yourself to truly feel the love you have for them. Next, expand your focus to include someone neutral in your life, someone you don't know very well. Wish them well in the same way, May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. Finally, think of someone you find challenging. This step might be difficult, but remember that they, too, seek happiness. Repeat the phrases for them, allowing compassion to flow through you. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. When you complete this practice, take a few deep breaths and slowly return to the present moment. Open your eyes when you are ready. Notice how you feel. You may sense a lighter heart, a clearer mind, and a more open spirit. Incorporating loving-kindness meditation into your daily routine can lead to profound changes. You might choose to practice for just a few minutes each day. Consistency is key. Over time, you will likely find that your feelings towards others begin to shift. You might notice anger dissipating more quickly, replaced by understanding and compassion. Remember, like any skill, loving-kindness takes practice. Be patient with yourself. It's okay if it feels difficult at first. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. Each time you choose kindness, you are planting a seed that will grow into a beautiful garden of love and compassion in your heart. In this garden, there is no room for anger. Instead, you will find understanding, patience, and joy. As we practice loving kindness, we not only heal ourselves but also contribute to the healing of the world around us. Together, we can create a ripple effect of love and compassion, touching the lives of everyone we meet. So, let us embrace this journey of loving kindness together, allowing our hearts to open and our spirits to soar. Transforming negative emotions through wisdom. In our journey through life, we encounter many emotions. Some bring joy, while others can feel heavy and dark, like clouds blocking the sun. Negative emotions, like anger and sadness, are a natural part of being human. But how we handle these emotions can change our lives. Today, let us explore how wisdom can help transform these negative feelings into something beautiful and empowering. Imagine you are walking through a dense forest. The trees are tall, and the path is narrow. As you walk, you start to feel anxious. You worry about what lies ahead. Will you find your way out? What if you encounter a wild animal? These worries are like negative emotions. They can feel overwhelming. But just as you can find your way through the forest, you can also find your way through these feelings. The first step in transforming negative emotions is to acknowledge them. It is essential to recognize when you feel anger, fear, or sadness. Ignoring these feelings only makes them stronger, like a pressure cooker ready to explode. Instead, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? This simple act of awareness is the beginning of change. Once you recognize your feelings, try to understand their source. Often, negative emotions arise from our thoughts and beliefs about ourselves and the world. For example, if you feel angry, ask yourself, what triggered this anger? Is it a situation I can control? Or is it something outside of my influence? This reflection helps to create distance between you and your emotions, allowing you to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. Buddhism teaches us that all emotions are temporary. Just as clouds pass in the sky, so too do our feelings. When you find yourself in the grip of negativity, remind yourself that it will not last forever. Emotions are like waves in the ocean. They rise and fall. By observing your emotions without judgment, you can start to see them as fleeting moments rather than permanent states. Another powerful tool for transforming negative emotions is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment, without distraction or judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you become aware of your thoughts and feelings, allowing them to come and go like leaves floating on a stream. Instead of getting caught up in a negative emotion, you learn to watch it, acknowledge it, and let it drift away. For instance, when you feel anger rising, take a moment to breathe deeply. Focus on your breath as it flows in and out. With each exhale, imagine releasing that anger, letting it dissolve into the air. You might say to yourself, this anger is not who I am. It is just a feeling passing through me. By doing this, you take away its power and allow yourself to regain control. Wisdom also teaches us the importance of compassion, both for ourselves and others. When negative emotions arise, it can be easy to blame ourselves or others. Instead, practice kindness. When you feel angry, ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Treat yourself with the same compassion. Understand that everyone experiences difficult emotions. You are not alone in this. As you cultivate compassion, you will notice a shift in your perspective. Instead of seeing others as obstacles to your happiness, you will begin to see them as fellow travelers on this journey of life. This shift allows for greater empathy and understanding, transforming negative feelings into opportunities for connection and growth. Let's consider another example. Imagine you are in a disagreement with a friend. Your initial reaction may be anger or frustration, but by applying wisdom, you can pause and ask yourself, what is truly important in this moment? Is it winning this argument, or is it preserving our friendship? This question helps you step back from the heat of the moment and focus on what matters most. In this way, wisdom can help us navigate the complexities of our emotions. It encourages us to look beyond the surface and recognize the underlying truths of our experiences. When we see our negative emotions in this light, they lose their grip on us, allowing us to respond with clarity and grace. Moreover, practicing gratitude can be a powerful antidote to negative emotions. When we focus on what we are thankful for, we shift our attention from what is wrong to what is right in our lives. Each day, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you appreciate. It could be something as simple as the warmth of the sun or the smile of a loved one. This practice cultivates a positive mindset that can transform your overall emotional landscape. Finally, remember that transforming negative emotions is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and practice. Be gentle with yourself as you learn and grow. Just like a tree takes years to grow strong and tall, so too will your ability to manage emotions develop over time. In conclusion, the wisdom of Buddhism teaches us that negative emotions do not have to define us. By acknowledging, understanding, and transforming these feelings, we can lead more peaceful and fulfilling lives. Embrace the journey with an open heart and a curious mind, and you will find the light within, shining brightly even in the darkest of times. Remember, the power to change is within you. Daily practices for a calm and balanced mind. In our busy lives, it can be hard to stay calm and balanced. The world around us often pulls us in many directions, making it easy to feel overwhelmed. As a Zen master, I invite you to explore simple daily practices that can help you find your center and nurture a peaceful mind. One of the most powerful practices is mindfulness. Mindfulness means being fully present in each moment. It is about observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment. You can start by dedicating just a few minutes each day to sit quietly. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel your breath flowing in and out. Notice the sensations in your body. If your mind wanders, gently guide it back to your breath. This practice helps you become aware of your thoughts, allowing you to respond to them with calmness rather than reacting with anger. Another great practice is to take mindful walks. When you walk, pay attention to each step. Feel your feet touching the ground. Listen to the sounds around you, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves. Let go of your worries and immerse yourself in the beauty of nature. This practice helps you connect with the present moment and clear your mind of distractions. Gratitude is also a powerful tool. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on what you are thankful for. It can be as simple as a warm meal, a kind word from a friend, or the beauty of a sunset. Writing these down in a gratitude journal can amplify the effect. Focusing on the positive aspects of your life can shift your mindset and reduce feelings of frustration and anger. Incorporating breathing exercises into your daily routine can greatly enhance your sense of calm. One simple technique is the 4-7-8 breathing method. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts, hold your breath for 7 counts, and then exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. Repeat this cycle a few times. This practice not only calms your mind, but also relaxes your body, making it easier to face challenges with a clear head. Another important daily practice is to embrace the concept of letting go. Often, we hold on to past grievances and they weigh us down. Each morning, remind yourself that today is a new day. Take a moment to release any lingering negativity from yesterday. Imagine letting go of these heavy feelings like leaves drifting away on a stream. This practice can free your mind from unnecessary burdens. Meditation is a cornerstone of Zen practice. Dedicate a few minutes each day to sit in silence and meditate. You don't have to sit in a formal pose. Find a comfortable position and focus on your breath or a calming mantra. If thoughts arise, acknowledge them and let them pass like clouds in the sky. The more you meditate, the easier it becomes to maintain a peaceful mindset throughout the day. Connecting with others is also essential for a balanced mind. Spend time with friends or family who uplift you. Share your thoughts and feelings. Listening to others can bring new perspectives and help you realize you are not alone in your struggles. Creating a supportive community can be a great source of strength when you face challenges. Another beneficial practice is to establish a routine. A consistent daily schedule can create a sense of order and stability in your life. Start each day with a short ritual, whether it's a cup of tea, stretching, or reading a few pages from a book. Routines can ground you, making it easier to navigate the ups and downs of life. Embracing simplicity can also help cultivate a calm mind. Declutter your physical space by removing items you no longer need. A clean, organized environment can lead to a clearer mind. Consider simplifying your commitments, too. Learn to say no to things that drain your energy. Focus on what truly matters to you, allowing you to engage fully in those activities. Another practice to consider is mindful eating. Instead of rushing through meals, take time to appreciate your food. Notice the colors, textures, and flavors of each bite. Eating slowly not only enhances your enjoyment of food, but also fosters mindfulness. This practice can help you develop a healthier relationship with food and your body. Lastly, let kindness guide your actions each day. Small acts of kindness can brighten your day and the days of others. Whether it's holding the door for someone, offering a smile, or helping a neighbor, these gestures create positive energy. Acts of kindness not only improve your mood, but also foster connections with those around you. Incorporating these daily practices into your life can lead to a more peaceful and balanced existence. Remember that progress may be slow, and that's perfectly fine. Be gentle with yourself as you cultivate these habits. Each small step you take toward inner peace is a step worth celebrating. Embrace this journey and let the wisdom of these practices guide you toward a calmer, more balanced mind. The ultimate freedom from anger and final thoughts. As we reach the end of our journey together, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned about anger. Remember, anger is a natural emotion. It is like a storm, intense and overwhelming. But just as storms pass, so too can our anger. The teachings of Buddhism provide us with the wisdom and tools to navigate these storms, to find calm in the chaos of our emotions. First, let's remind ourselves that anger often arises from our attachments and expectations. When we cling to our desires, we create a fertile ground for frustration. Imagine a tree that bears fruit. If we are attached to the idea that it must bear sweet, juicy fruit at all times, we will be disappointed when it does not. In the same way, when life does not unfold according to our plans, we can feel angry. But what if we could approach life as it is? Accepting each moment without judgment allows us to embrace life's natural flow. Buddha taught us the importance of mindfulness. By being present and aware of our thoughts and feelings, we can observe our anger without reacting to it. Picture yourself sitting by a river. As you watch the water flow, you see leaves and twigs floating by. Instead of grabbing onto them, you simply let them pass. This is what mindfulness can do for our anger. It allows us to witness it without getting swept away. Another powerful tool we discussed is compassion. When we feel anger towards others, it is helpful to remember that they, too, are human. They have their struggles, just like us. Compassion can soften our hearts and dissolve our anger. Imagine looking at someone who has wronged you and seeing not an enemy, but a fellow traveler on life's difficult road. When we approach others with kindness, our anger can fade away, replaced by understanding and empathy. Let's also remember the practice of loving kindness meditation, or metta. This beautiful practice encourages us to send love and goodwill to ourselves and others. As we recite phrases of kindness, we nurture a heart free from anger. We can start by wishing ourselves peace. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Gradually, we extend these wishes to those we love, then to those we feel neutral about, and finally, even to those we struggle with. This process opens our hearts and transforms our feelings toward anger. It's important to understand that freedom from anger does not mean we will never feel it again. Instead, it means we will have the tools to manage it. Think of it as learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you may wobble and fall, but with practice, you gain balance and confidence. In the same way, managing anger takes practice. The more we apply these teachings, the better we become at maintaining our inner peace. In daily life, when you feel the stirrings of anger, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what is this anger trying to teach me? Is it pointing to an unmet need or a boundary that has been crossed? Instead of reacting impulsively, take that moment to reflect. This practice can transform anger from a destructive force into a source of insight. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is also vital. Share your journey with friends who understand your desire to overcome anger. Their encouragement can strengthen your resolve. Together, you can practice mindfulness, engage in discussions about compassion, and hold each other accountable. As we conclude our exploration of anger, remember that the path to peace is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs. Embrace each experience as part of your growth. With every mindful moment, every act of compassion, you are moving closer to freedom from anger. Finally, always return to the breath. It is a simple yet profound tool. Whenever you feel anger rising, take a moment to breathe deeply. Inhale slowly, feeling your belly expand. Hold that breath for a moment, and then exhale gently, releasing tension. This practice can ground you, allowing space for clarity and calm. In this journey, you have the power to change your relationship with anger. By embracing the teachings of Buddhism, you are not just learning to control anger. You are cultivating a life filled with peace, love, and understanding. As you step forward, remember that the true freedom from anger comes from within. Carry this wisdom with you, and may your heart be filled with compassion and your mind with tranquility.